Today in this video, our focus will be on James Harden's move from the Rockets to the Nets. The Brooklyn Nets have agreed to acquire three-time scoring champion James Harden from the Houston Rockets, a deal that reunites him with Kevin Durant and gives him the move that he has sought out for weeks. Harden is going to the Nets as part of a 4-team deal that also involves Indiana and Cleveland. At least 4 draft picks and additional pick swaps are also part of the deal. On top of Cleveland taking part on the massive trade, key players have been moved. Indiana star Victor Oladipo is now a part of the Houston Rockets, while Caris LeVert have found himself in Indiana, and the blossoming big man Jared Allen is now a member of the Cavs. James Harden has become one of the best scorers to ever play in the NBA. He went from being the third option on the Oklahoma City Thunder to becoming the primary option on the Houston Rockets. Having been a Rocket in the better part of the past decade, he has come quite close to becoming the franchise's all-time leading scorer. There is no love lost between Harden and the Rockets. Earlier in the previous week, the Rockets informed Harden they didn't want him at practice after his provocative remarks about the team. Coach Stephen Silas said that he felt it was best for James Harden and best for the group for him not to come to practice. The superstar had become disgruntled and unhappy in Houston for quite some time now, but remained quiet through months of speculation. He finally voiced his frustration after the Rockets' second straight blowout loss to the Lakers. Speaking after the game, Harden said, "We're just not good enough. I love this city. I literally have done everything that I can. I mean, this situation is crazy. It's something that I don't think can be fixed." This comment about the team and his teammates wasn't taken lightly by Coach Silas, who said, "That's hard to hear, especially when you don't believe and you know it not to be true." Harden used every move in the disgruntled superstar handbook. He reported late for camp. He also was fined $50,000 earlier this season for conduct detrimental to the league related to him not following the health and safety protocols put into place by NBA and the National Basketball Players Association for navigating a season during the pandemic. Harden ultimately got what he wanted. Brooklyn Nets also got what they wanted: James Harden to form arguably the best offensive trio in the league this season. Prior to this day, the Lakers were the favorite to win the NBA title. They have a top 5 player in Anthony Davis, and no team was close enough to compete with him and LeBron James. With the Nets adding Harden to a rather intimidating 1-2 combo of Durant and Irving, they now have 3 of the best offensive players in the league, all of them in their prime. Although it doesn't guarantee them the championship this season, it pushes them closer to the favorites tag, if not outrightly so. However, it does come at a price. In the NBA, teams have to make a necessary gamble. Superstar trade scenarios are prone to overthinking. So much of attention is paid to what acquiring NBA teams would be giving up and the future opportunity cost to which that amounts. Mortgaging your future is the new price of doing business in the NBA. Brooklyn may have given up a fortune to land James Harden, but it had no choice if it wanted to win right now. 3 rotation players and 4 overall picks, 3 unprotected first-round picks, and 4 pick swaps. That's the haul it took for the Brooklyn Nets to acquire James Harden from the Houston Rockets in a 4-team mega trade. The magnitude of this swap for James Harden seems unimaginable, but mortgaging the future has become the only way to contend for the title in the NBA these days. The Nets are now the 5th franchise to trade away almost all of its future draft picks in the past 2 years. To put in perspective, 4 of those 5 teams, the Lakers, Clippers, Bucks, and Nets, are also the team most likely to win the championship this season. The Nets are no strangers to these kinds of deals though. Such bold decision making have cost them the possibility of drafting Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Colin Sexton. Though that deal for Paul Pierce and Kevin Garnett is a bit similar to the near decade-long absence from the draft that now awaits the Nets, the 2 deals cannot be any more dissimilar. Pierce and Garnett were 36 and 37 respectively during their first season in Brooklyn in 2013 and 2014. Both would retire by 2017. Giving up all those draft picks didn't make sense for 2 players winding down their Hall of Fame careers. Coming off his 3rd consecutive scoring title with 34.6 points per game, the 31-year-old Harden remains squarely in his prime with a skill-based style that should extend those years longer than most. So how does Harden fit into the Nets? The Nets are one of the teams tipped to win the NBA championship this season, but they aren't without their troubles. The Nets are a team led by stars with dicey injury histories, a work in progress with regards to cohesion, and a first-year head coach calling the shots. Harden will most likely fit right in, functioning as one of the several bailout options when those issues inevitably arise. Kevin Durant has looked brilliant since he made his return from his ruptured Achilles, but he's still not 100% fit. Every stage of this acclimation to the team would be accompanied by some challenges. Majorly, he would see plenty of scheduled rest, maybe even more than he wants. Kyrie Irving, meanwhile, has had his injury problems in the past. The right shoulder injury that ended his 2019-2020 campaign is not chronic, but he can be penciled in for 15 or so absences every year until proven otherwise. For the Nets, all that glitters isn't gold. One of the biggest issues staring at the Nets this season is their depth. They gave up starting center Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, and other bench players for a superstar. What this means is that as it stands, DeAndre Jordan is their starting center. That is not all. With just Kyrie and Durant on the team, there was a problem of finding the right cohesion. Now, Harden joins the team to pose an even more threat to the chemistry of the Brooklyn team. All three players are high-volume superstars, and sharing the ball will be key. At Houston, Harden played a style of basketball tailored to his needs. Harden's adaptability to a new role at the Nets might just be what decides how far the team can go. James Harden knows that he has a shot at winning the championship with the Brooklyn Nets, and he'll be willing to do whatever it takes to achieve this feat. As a result, this idea that Harden can't or won't change his ball-dominant style is without concrete grounds. Another issue staring the Nets is their defense. Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden have become synonymous with impressive scoring and offensive abilities. However, of all three, Kevin Durant is the only true two-way player with the ability to defend other teams' players. No doubt the Nets will find the basket oftentimes and not this season. The question is, how many will they concede? The answer to this very important question could decide the Nets' season. Finally, James Harden's move to the Nets will in no little way affect the chances of Kyrie Irving getting enough game time. At the moment, Kevin Durant is the best player at the Nets. After him is James Harden, and this leaves Kyrie Irving as the player who would most likely take a step back so that the team succeeds. Irving left LeBron James because he felt he had what it takes to lead his own team. Now, we are left to see if he is capable of giving up on time and influence on the basketball court and off it. No doubt, this will be one of the leading storylines in the Brooklyn Nets this season. Squad depth can never displace stardom. Of course, it can complement and augment, but it cannot serve as a replacement. The only substitute for superstardom is another superstar. The Brooklyn Nets are hopeful of winning the championship this season, and they have taken giant strides to achieve this goal. When asked of the move for Harden, Nets head coach Steve Nash had this to say: "We're excited. We obviously got one of the premier players in the world. We want to win a championship for sure. That's why we made the deal. We're a brand new entity that has to figure it out, but that is the end goal." Perhaps the Nets inevitably decides the rest of Harden's prime is worth that long-term risk. They had every reason to secure those bolstered odds, since there is no telling when they'll next be in the position to do so on this level. So let us know, can the Nets win it all this year? Maybe next year, maybe the year after, maybe they trade Harden or Irving, who knows? Let us know in the comments below what you guys think. Until then, stay put.